I drained the lake. Yeah, you heard me right. I drained the entire damn lake overnight. And not because I lost my mind, not because I was trying to make some point about property rights. No, I did it because the president of my HOA thought she could turn the lake, my lake, the same one where my wife's ashes rest, into a tacky water park with slides and chlorine pools. And if I hadn't acted, everything sacred about this place would have been gone forever. Act 1. The Spark. My name's Hank Prescott. I'm 58 years old, retired Navy engineer. Been living by Lakeside Grove since 1998. That lake out back. It's not just water to me, it's where my wife, Allison, and I used to spend every evening sitting by the dogwood tree, watching the sun drop behind the ridge. When she passed away from cancer, I scattered her ashes right there in the water. That lake became sacred ground. So when Karen Schultz got herself elected as the new HOA president, I figured she'd be just another clipboard-wielding busybody, you know, the type who sends emails about mailbox paint chipping. But I underestimated her. One morning, I walked out to find a huge plastic banner staked into the dirt by the dock. In bold bubble letters, future site of Lakeside Splash Zone. And underneath, bright renderings of inflatable slides and concession stands. I swear my heart stopped. I marched right to Karen's porch. She was standing there in her pastel cardigan, smug as ever, holding a binder like it was the Constitution. "Karen," I said, holding the flyer, "you don't have the right to do this. This lake is mine private property. I have the deed." She smirked and flipped her hair. "Oh, Hank, don't be so dramatic. The board voted unanimously. The community deserves access to nature. You can't just gatekeep a resource everyone should enjoy." "Gatekeep." I laughed, bitter. "My wife's ashes are in that lake, and you want to put a food court over it." She shrugged, like that detail meant nothing. And in that moment, I knew this was war. Act 2. The Escalation. The very next week, construction crews showed up. Bright orange fencing cut across my shoreline, my old wooden bench under the dogwood, now hidden behind a chain-link barrier labeled Restricted Construction Area. I tore the notice off and stormed to the HOA office. But instead of listening, Karen slapped me with a $250 fine for obstruction of community progress. That's when the campaign began. HOA sent out a mass email labeling me uncooperative, a bitter old man clinging to outdated claims. Neighbors I'd barbecued with for years stopped waving when they drove by. Some even muttered selfish under their breath. And I'll be honest with you, it broke me down. I started to question myself. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was the problem, holding on too tightly to the past. I'd sit on my porch staring at that construction zone, hearing the drills, the shouts, and I'd whisper, "Allison, am I doing the wrong thing here?" One night, I almost packed it in, thought about letting them take the lake. But then I found myself in the garage, digging through old boxes. That's when I uncovered the original land survey and water rights contract from '98 signed by the county. It wasn't just the land I owned. I also controlled the floodgate at the North Inlet, meaning I literally held the keys to the water itself. And there it was, my ace, my leverage. Act 3. The Showdown. The HOA held a big community rally by the lakeside. Karen strutted up front, microphone in hand, showing off glossy posters of the future splash zone. Parents clapped. Kids pointed at the slides. I waited until she finished her little victory speech. Then I walked up with a stack of papers, copies of my deed, my tax receipts, the county contract. I handed them out row by row. "This lake," I said, my voice shaking but strong, "belongs to me, and every single permit Karen has waved in your face is a lie. There is no city approval, no state clearance. You're about to be fined for trespassing on private land." You should have seen their faces. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Karen's smug smile faltered, but she still tried. "He's bluffing. He's just bitter." But before she could finish, a neighbor read the heading on my document out loud. "Official water rights, County of Rockdale." The crowd shifted. Doubt spread like wildfire. That night, Karen doubled down. Another fine $1,000 this time. And she sent some shady inspectors to my property, trying to intimidate me. So I made my move. At 11 p.m., under a cloudy sky, I walked out to the northern floodgate with my flashlight. My hands shook as I unlocked the mechanism. I knew once I did this, there was no going back. But I could almost hear Allison's voice in my ear. "Protect what matters." I cranked the wheel, metal groaned, water roared, and by morning, the lake was gone. Not completely, but low enough to turn the construction site into a mud pit. Half-built slides tilted sideways, food stalls sunk ankle-deep in muck. Karen came running down the hill in her slippers, shrieking, "You'll be arrested. This is sabotage." I held up the county contract like a shield. It's called water management rights. Karen, 100% legal. The sheriff himself arrived, and he wasn't just some deputy. He'd served with me back in the Navy. One look at the paperwork, and he nodded. "Karen, pack it up. He's within his rights." Her face turned ghost white. For once, she had no words. The HOA board scrambled. Neighbors started demanding refunds for the water park fees she'd already collected. By week's end, they held an emergency vote. Karen was stripped of her presidency, and me, I finally sat back on that old wooden bench, looking out at a quiet, half-drained lake. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't how it used to be, but it was mine again, untouched, sacred. Closing line lesson. So yeah, I drained a lake to protect a promise. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Some places aren't meant for profit or progress. They're meant to be protected because they hold the pieces of who we are.